Good morning, lunchtime, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Making Things Happen with me, your host, Steve Sims. And we're going to be chatting with a buddy of mine, another Brit, Adam Lyons. And we're going to be talking about a subject which basically aggravates me. Emails. Now, it's funny, if you've ever seen me speak on stage, I'll be like, do texting, do videoing, doing all these things. And then at the end of it, do some email things. I've never been an email advocate. This guy champions it, but he tells you how to use it. And he openly says there's an art to it. And the dumb thing is, that art is really easy for you to be able to do. If you've got a database and you want more capital, he's going to tell you how to get it from your database. Listen to Adam Lyons. He's very simple. He's an incredibly sharp guy. And like all incredibly sharp people, they can actually explain it to us mere mortals in a simple way. Enjoy Adam Lyons and enjoy the show. Hey, Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Steve. I'm a huge fan of yours, so this is an honor.
Now, here's a weird thing. You are very successful at doing something which alienates the shit out of me. And also that I argue is worth anything. And that is this thing called emails. Now, yes. just to give people a bit of a framework, we're buddies. We've known each other a while. We've met through our mutual friend and acquaintance, the wildly wacky genius Roland Frazier. And me and you have had conversations on emails, and everyone knows that I go out there and I go, emails are great, but I like texts. I like doing this. I like doing this. And you're turning around and saying, well, that's because you're not doing it right. And you've had incredible success at basically, and I'll be your pitch for you, raising the dead from your database. And you run a company. In fact, let's not wait until the end. Upsell. Is it upsell.com? Is the website?
Upsells.com.
Upsells. So it's a plural. Make sure there's an S in there. Upsells.com. Well, you can actually learn out a lot more about Adam and this whole process of actually regular, accurate, appropriate, proper email marketing. So I'm going to start the first question. Yeah, there are questions in this. It's not just me rambling.
I love it.
Why are you such a great believer in email where a lot of the planet, including myself, is kind of like, they're annoying?
Yeah. So the biggest reason is everybody has email on their phone. And you mostly have two types of email addresses. You've got your fake email address that you're going to register for stuff where you get promotions. And then you got your real email address, your personal email. And everybody knows they want to get that inbox down to zero. They know like that's the goal. Some people will have an assistant running their emails for them. But your casual consumer, your everyday consumer, almost always is going through their emails themselves. And if the email is written correctly in a very personal way, where it looks like it's coming from somebody who is actually having a real dialogue, not just pitching something, it's almost rude to ignore it. And, you've got this mentality like, all right, I'm going to sit at my computer. I'm going to answer my emails. Because that's what you do. You don't sit and think I'm going to answer all my text messages. You'll respond to them quick. But your emails are, I'm going to respond to my emails. That's what I'm going to do. And then when that email comes in and it's written in a way like in a very, like I said, it's got to be personal. There's an art to it. But if you write it like a real person, they'll respond. And before you know it, they'll get in this dialogue with you of going forward and backwards. And that's the art to emails nowadays. Long gone are the, here's a promotion in your inbox, go buy it. This is about driving conversation that somebody actually wants to have. And in fair play to you, it does move to text message. So the goal is to get from the email to the text message where that's when the transaction typically happens. But to reignite an old client, somebody you haven't spoken to in a while, an email is often the best way to do it because we don't always have text messages from 10 years ago.
Now, you brought up two things there. One, you brought up the fact that it is not to do a pitch. It's not just a kind of banner ad, hey, buy me. It's to ignite a conversation, but also you turned around in there and you said there's an art to it.
Yeah.
Now, all too often, we hate anything that takes effort and understanding. which I hate that. I don't want to be doing that. I can't paint that. I can't fix that because you haven't studied and taken the time to use it. What suddenly made you, and I know your businesses, you got a lot of businesses. You've got a business of helping people buy and sell businesses. So you've got a lot of different businesses that you could focus on, but this is a heavy focus of yours. Why did you look at something that a lot of people find that kind of grudge and go, hang on a minute, there's an art to this and everyone else is doing it wrong? When did you discover that and that you had the art for it?
So I knew I had the art for it 18 years ago when I launched my very first online business, and I couldn't make ads work, and I sucked at any other kind of marketing, but people would give me their email address because they wanted to communicate with me. And back then that was the more common way of doing it. And I built a mailing list that was big. I mean, really big, like, hundreds of thousands of people. And for 18 years, I've emailed them constantly, every day for 18 years with maybe a few gaps. And it's always been a good source of revenue. If I send an email, I make money. And that's just how it works and how it has been for 18 years. About 3 years ago, when I started buying and selling businesses with our mutual friend, Roland Fraser, I would go into a company and people would say to me, once I buy this business, what's the fastest way for me to make revenue? And I was like, well, there's a couple of things people miss. Let's see what they're not doing. And I would see, oh, they're not emailing their email list. They've got 50,000 people. You should probably email the mailing list. And after doing over 1,900, almost 2,000 deals at this point now, Steve, none of them were emailing their mailing list. None of them. And I was like, I'm so tired of writing out the system of how to wake up the email list. And it's such a huge generator. I'll give you an example of the companies that use upsells via email. This is from Forbes. 70% of gross revenue comes from that. Of the companies that bother, 70% of the revenue comes from it. And that's what we've seen. 70% of our revenue comes from emails. In the companies that we take over, 70% of the revenue comes from, specifically, it's upsells via emails, if we're going to be specific, hence upsells.com. But I just saw this time and time again, and I got so tired of doing it. I was like, I'm going to build an agency and I'm just going to do it for people. And that's what we did. So now I'm just like, just use my company. We'll do it for you. It's fine. And that's it. That's how we built it.
A lot of people are sitting there going, you don't email every day. You email once a month or it'll piss people off. I remember Dean Jackson once turned around and said that, people complain that people don't open their emails. He said, but funny enough, he said, my mum's opened up every single email I've ever sent her. So it's not the fact that you are emailing, it's the fact of who you're emailing it to and what's the message. But can you really find something interesting to say every single day?
Finding something interesting every day is actually really easy. And I'll tell you how to do it. But I do want to just make this point for everyone listening to this podcast. How often do you want to hear from Steve? Once a month? Or you want Steve himself messaging you every day? And the answer is going to be, everyone here wants to hear from you every single day because you're really smart and they like hearing what you have to say. And providing they're talking to you, right? That's what they want. But if it's Steve, they're like, yeah, I want to talk to Steve. The catch on what to say every single day, that's the one that gets people. It's like, how do I come up with content every single day? So there's a couple of arts to it. The first is just wake up in the morning and whatever conversation you've been having, that's what you say to people. So I had a really interesting conversation this morning. I've got a prediction that coaching is going to get in trouble in the next few years. I've had it for a few years. And so I woke up this morning and I sent out a message. I've got a bunch of different emails. But I sent out one. I was like, my prediction today is that within a year or so, there's going to be a big crackdown on coaches. You're going to see a lot of people coming under fire. About 3 hours later, I had an interview with a lady on my podcast, and she said, oh yeah, the FTC is doing a big investigation into coaches over the 2023. And she's got like insider information on it. And she has already started cracking down on some. So I then sent a second email in the same day. I know, crazy. And I was like, I told you I was right. And I just sent out this message and I put in like some of the evidence of the podcast. So the dialogue you're having with people that you're excited about is what to say every day. And the emails don't have to be these long form things. Like some of my emails will only have like 50, 60 words in them. But it's almost like a tweet, right? But it's exactly what I want to say. It's getting 100% view for anyone that opens the email. There's none of this like they're in Facebook or they're in Twitter and they don't see what I said. Like if they open their email, they're going to see it. It doesn't get moved to some other box. And the best part, and this is the number one tip I'll give you, if you send an email and they don't respond, it looks like spam. If you send an email and they do respond and then you don't respond, that also looks like spam. So to get somebody actually looking at your emails, you got to send an email, encourage them to reply to it, and then you reply to their replies. Now, yeah, that takes a little bit of time. I mean, that's why we built an agency where we do this for people, because we get not everyone wants to do it. But there is no better customer than a guy you're messaging every day, and he's responding every day in the same thread, in this dialogue that goes forward and backwards and forward and backwards. And then every so often, we call it a hand raiser. Every email has a hand raiser in it. And a hand raiser is if they want to buy something, they can just raise their hand and be like, hey, if I wanted to buy that, what would I do? And it's never a pitch. It's just a reminder. If you ever want to know about this thing, just let me know. And then the conversation continues.
I remember a friend of mine, Brian Kurtz. I'm sure you come across Brian Kurtz, real sharp copywriter. And years ago, I got very consumed with how inadequate I was at writing an email. And as you quite openly said, there is an art to it. And I didn't think I had that art. And my grammar, you've got emails from me, my grammar's appalling. And that's why I do a lot of video texting, because I've never spelt anything wrong when I've sent someone a video. I hate sending copy because the grammar, is horrible. I got this firm to actually come into my company, and this is when I had the concierge company, and they would do brilliant pictures and just the most amazing copy that would just send you off into a beautiful vision and entrance you with these ideas of what could be done. And we had these fantastic emails, and we used to send them out. And I think at the time we were still only sending them out once a month because, again, they were offers. So what was that?
You don't want to upset anyone.
I didn't want to upset anyone. Of course I didn't. You know, you don't want to give people too much wonderful stuff. So I would send it out once a month. And I remember after about 3 or 6 months, my income was actually starting to fall off. And I thought, why? I've got a firm that are doing these things now. They've never spelled anything wrong. They're always current. They're always topical. Where's it going wrong? And I fired them for doing a good job. And it was the weirdest thing in the world. And I went back to sending out my little email going, hey, go in here. Who wants to come? You know, and with a little picture badly grabbed from Google Images or something like that. The first day I sent it out, I remember this. Brian actually sent me an email and he said, welcome back. And I was like, what do you mean welcome back? And he said, we could tell that wasn't you. We didn't want to hear to them. And as you were saying, if someone wants to talk to you, they want to talk to you. Yeah. They don't want to talk to someone pretending to be you badly. So I realized then that if you're actually connecting with people and they like you, flaws and all. But why do we get so scared of how good we are at doing an email? You've already said, keep it short. How many people do an email and think, wow, this thing's got to be War and Peace?
You know what's really funny? I had a theory that the larger the font, the better the response rate of the email would be. And this is the only thing my fiance has ever overruled me on. So we sent out a message and we increased the size of the font 700%. It was like you could see like 6 letters at a time. It was massive. The conversion rate went up 10x. We made 10 times as much money. Yeah. And the next day she went, I'm banning that. We're never doing it again. And I was like, what do you mean? We made so much money. And she goes, I can't look at it. I can't do it. And it's the only bad decision we've officially made purely on gut instinct. Because the thing about emails is the easier they are to read with the bigger font and all the spelling errors and everything else, it looks like, you know, your best friend is sending you a silly message from work and they respond. And that's what I love about that story you just shared, because it's exactly that. So part of our process, because we have to write in somebody else's voice, we have to learn how you write and write like you.
Yeah.
So we run a survey first to learn a lot about the audience. And then we analyze a bunch of emails so that we can write in your voice. And one of my favorites is we learn the character traits of your best buyers. So my best buyers are people that do not get bothered by spelling errors. And it's like, it's a really cool quote because we know internally if someone's ever like, oh, you got a spelling error on this page, we're like, they'll never buy ever. That person won't buy from us. But if they respond back and we've got a ton of spelling errors and they go, you know what I love? I love the way you write. Anyone like that, we're like, oh, that guy's a buyer. He's going to spend money. And it's a really powerful thing to learn that your people are following you because they love you and they want to know that it's you at the other end of that email. And even if it isn't, and they suspect it isn't, it's got to sound like you. And that's the other really cool thing is with what we do, we'll do the email backwards and forwards, like I said, but then it moves to text message or what have you. And at that point, it will often go internally into the company that we're working with for them to finalize the details. And that's when they will actually talk to Henry or Steve or what have you. And they're like, oh, I really enjoyed emailing you. And of course, at that point, you're like, oh, great. And then, you just
and you take over.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it's great because now you're only dealing with the people that have actually handed over cash.
So what's the world of emails going to? You say you're shorter. You say that you don't. You're saying a lot of things that everyone's just kind of like, this can't be true. You're telling people email every day, have a conversation with them. Most people don't do that. They do advertising with emails. Actually get them to engage. Be short. Don't worry about the spelling. How are your thoughts on pictures in emails? Do you use a lot of visual in emails?
We don't. And the reason we don't is it makes the email larger. It crowds your inbox, especially if you're looking on mobile. Most people are responding to their email on mobile, realistically in the restroom, let's be real. So the picture we find takes away from it. If you saw the way that we write emails, they're all kind of cheeky, which, I know you'd appreciate, but like, especially for like our own mailing list. So, I wrote one right now, which was, did you get your Christmas present yet? And it's like, it's really hard not to respond to that. If someone, feel free, anyone use that, but like, did you get your Christmas present yet? It's like, oh, wait, what? You got me a Christmas present? And then, the subhead is, I'm pretty sure I sent it to you. And so they're going to open their email. Like everyone, especially now, it's December 16th, right? We want to make sure we got our present. So they open it up and inside it's like, yeah, I sent you an email yesterday with an invitation to this free event I'm doing to an event I'm doing. And I got you a free ticket for it. And I wanted to send it to you as a Christmas present. I wasn't sure if you got it or not. If you don't have it, respond to this email and just say, hey, can I get that ticket? And I'll send it straight to you. But I looked through my mailing list and I through the list, I didn't see your name on the list. And I want to make sure you get it. Just out of interest, what you plan on getting for Christmas? You doing anything special? That's the kind of email we'll send. So, then they're going to reply, oh, no, I didn't get it. I'd love my invitation. And then they're going to be like, oh, I'm hoping to get, the new virtual reality kit, or, I'm hoping to fix my car or whatever it is they're getting, or I'm taking the missus away for Christmas. I'm like, oh, that's great. So good. Cool. I'll email you tomorrow. And that's it. That's how our emails work. It's so conversational and normal that they don't even notice that there's, a ticket to a webinar hidden in the middle of it. And they're going to turn up because they want to come, and they will. They'll come live on the webinar, and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, Adam." I'm like, "Oh, I emailed you. How you doing?" And that's the art to it. It's a real conversation.
It's funny that you say it's an art and then you trivialize it by making it down to its core basic of it's a conversation. We all know how to have it. Well, I was going to say we all know how to have a conversation. I think over the years, we've got really bad at having conversations. You go to events. We've been to many events. We've been to many events together. And there's always those people that are a little bit nervous. And let's be blunt, you never want to go into a room where people are, dumber than you. That's just a stupid thing. So what do? You end up going to a room where people are far smarter than you in order for you to up your game. But in doing so, you also get a little bit of that imposter syndrome, that little bit of doubt, that little bit of kind of like, oh my God, these guys are brilliant. And it's usually at that point in time that you go inside yourself and you end up becoming a bad conversationalist. And there's almost kind of like a bit of bravado, like the new kid on the playground. And at that point in time, you're really bad at communicating because you're not communicating openly. You're trying to make out you're something, but you're saying have a conversation. if anyone's out there going, well, hang on a minute, I'm a dentist, I'm a chiropractor, I run an art school, I run a mechanic studio, I can't be cheeky with my clients. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, you got to be true to who you are, but let's be real, you're always a little bit cheeky with the people you get on the best with.
Yep.
And when that person is emailing you, they want to feel that warmth, the crossing the line of the being personal that you would normally only do with somebody that you are actually friendly and conversational with. So you have to have that little bit of, that little bit of fun. But again, only if that's your natural personality. If you're a very serious person that never makes jokes, although I don't really know those people. But you don't really want that. But it is okay to. So for example, we have one client, and they specialize in data collection. And the owner of the company, he is a bit funny, but he's very data driven. So when we write his emails, everything's based on data. We're like, hey, just so you know, yesterday, we pulled some data analytics, thought you'd be very interested. But again, the people that are going to sign up for his email, that's what they want to see. They want to see what the latest data is showing. And so that becomes, the normal conversation, I suppose. But most of the time, the fun, conversational, jokey stuff does best because they know they're talking to a real human.
Isn't it funny where we're scared to do anything or try anything for fear of upsetting those that aren't buying anything in any case? We've got this massive list, and you are 100% right. All of my clients, I'm very blunt, I'm very inappropriate. I told you what I'm me to them, but a lot of people are like, oh no, I can't be like that. To people that aren't buying from them. Surely we all want, in an ideal world, a email list of 200 clients, but we've all got email lists of thousands of people that haven't bought anything from us. Right. So why are people scared?
And that's the point. That's why you email every day, because the people that aren't going to buy leave. And that's the best thing that can happen, because you're paying for everybody that's on that email list. So you actually want to get through the unsubscribed. You want them to go. So you're left with people that really want to have a conversation with you. And like you said, right? If you've got 200 people paying you $1,000 a month, that's 200 grand a month. That's not bad. 2.4 million a year for a couple of hundred people on an email list. Great. Yep. That's right. That's exactly what you want. There's no better world really, other than 300 people that really want what you have to say. But the problem is, people are scared about what the others think. I always say it's the 80-20 rule. I'm like, here's how you think about it. If you have an email list of 100 people, 80 people signed up to watch you fail. They put their email in to be like, this guy sucks. I hate him. And then you got 20 left. And the 20 that are left, they actually care about you. But the other 80, they don't like you. So don't worry about them. The goal is to get them unsubscribed as quick as possible. Now, of the 20 left, we do the 80-20 again. And 16 of them, they love you. They're going to reply every day. Never going to buy anything, but they love you. But four are going to buy, because that's the 80-20 rule once again. And then we're left out of those four. It's 25-75 now. It's almost 80-20. 3 of them are going to buy the cheapest thing you have, tell you it's the best thing ever. They're going to say they're buyers, and they'll never buy anything else. And one will buy everything. Absolutely everything. Everything, no matter what the price is. And we call that your whale. Our whole system is we're just looking for the whales. And the whales will be the people that communicate there. And it's one of 4, one in every 4 or 5. And that's the person we're after. And we're looking for them, and we're looking to have a good conversation with them so we get to know who they are. I actually I had a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day. He sold someone on his mastermind. He's got a $50,000 mastermind. And I joined the same day as this other guy. But the other guy, he makes 9 figures a year. And he buys 1,000 properties at a time in a bulk buy. And he's worth so much money. And he's just quit the mastermind. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And so I was sitting down with the owner of the mastermind. I was like, did you know this chap is quitting and he's not coming back? And he goes, I don't even know his name. And I was like, and that right there is a little bit of a problem. Because that guy was probably the most successful person in the room. And he loved you. And I know that because I sat and spoke to him. But he didn't want to intrude and bother you. He never wanted to come and say hi. I was like, and because of that, you never got to meet him. And so he's come and gone. He's been with you for a year, loved it, but just decided it wasn't right for him. And And he's the kind of person that could have easily paid for one-on-one time, or, but you never offered it. You never had that conversation with him, because this mastermind is the highest level thing the guy sells. So at that level, he has no interest in selling anymore. So he has no interest in communicating anymore. And I said to him, if you'd had a daily email going, he'd have seen that daily email. And for us, we'll create emails even inside tiny little groups. And at least he would have had a route to talk to you one-on-one. And if he'd have responded in the email and said, hey, thanks ever so much, I like being part of the mastermind, but I was really hoping I could get more time with you. If our company had run it, or if you'd run it properly, someone would have seen it and said, you know what? I know who you are. I know how much money you make, and I know what you're after. Let me get you 5 minutes with the boss and see what happens. I was like, because if you'd have spoken to him, that would have been completely different. And to me, that's what real communication is all about, that direct line. I think it's so important for people to do it, and why it's so important to really drill down to the people that actually matter, that love you and want to talk to you, and get rid of all the other people.
There's nothing more expensive than getting a client. There's nothing more stupid than ignoring one that you've got and failing to retain them. So It's not a case of, hey, I don't want to be in sales anymore. As you've just pointed out, a little bit of attention, a little bit of conversation with someone would have retained them. The effort required to get someone is dramatically different to the low level needed to retain them. It's just stupidity. I've got to admit, in communicating with you and getting to know you, and you constantly having these conversations, and I've seen you on stage. If anyone's out there looking at doing an event, Adam's fantastic. I know he's got a new website coming out, but you get out onto him, find him, track him down. There's loads of ways you can get a hold of Adam. But seriously, if you're looking for a good speaker, I'm not asking him to promote himself. I'm promoting him. Damn good speaker for this kind of thing, and he will get your crowd engaged. But you really changed the way that I've thought on email and on communicating for what I thought was quite seriously a dinosaur form of communication. You've walked in, and I really love the way that you actually look at companies you get involved in on the dead assets they've got and how to revive them. And you've gained most of the value from reviving that database again. Do people not realize how important that is?
My favorite story, Steve, is I bought a Dungeons and Dragons store, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but it's my absolute favorite. It was my son came to me crying one day, and he's like, they're closing the local Dungeons and Dragons store, and I'm a big nerd. And my son, when your son looks at you and says, they're closing down the store, fix it, and you're supposed to be this guy that can fix businesses, you have to do it. You can't turn around to your son and go, sorry, son, not that one. And I tried saying I normally just fix 7-figure businesses, but he wasn't going to have it. There's only one Dungeons and Dragons store in the area, and he didn't want it to go. So I went in, and long story short, I ended up buying the store myself. And the guy's like, there's no money in it. It loses money every month. It's done. The very first thing I did was crack open the point of sale, not like monkey style with a hammer, but log into it. And inside, there were 400 phone numbers. No emails. I was sad, but it's 400 phone numbers. And the very first thing I did was just sent a text message to 400 people and said, hey, new manager, I've just taken over the store. What's the one thing you really wish that we stocked here that we don't? And I got 400 answers. Everyone answered. No one missed it. And they said, I really wish you had. And they put in their dream thing they wanted to buy. And as crazy as this sounds, I then said, if I get that in this weekend, would you want to come and buy it? And they went, yeah. And that was 400 sales from 400 text messages from a point of sale machine the guy has never used except to check out cash. 400 customers. We just spoke about 200 customers paying $1,000 a month. 400.
Yeah.
That
is fantastic. I absolutely love that. Adam, young man, I love chatting with you. I do actually want to, and I'm going to tell you this now, I love the way you actually look at buying businesses and helping people buy businesses. So I am telling you, I want to get a part 2 where we can actually talk about that subject, because many people here don't realize that they need to follow you. You're an incredibly sharp man who teaches people how to do things really simply. And that's a talent. That is a real skill set. How can people follow you, stalk you, and get more of you?
Well, thanks to you, Steve, and I took your advice. You can find me pretty much everywhere at the Adam Lyons, so Lyons. So you can find me Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want. I'm mostly on Instagram, let's be real, but at the Adam Lyons.
All right, perfect. And I'm going to tell everyone they need to be doing this. Adam, thank you very much for spending time with us, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
You. Thanks, Steve.
Hey, I hope you liked that episode of the Art of Making Things Happen podcast. And remember, these are done for you. If you like them, subscribe, share them around. But if you don't like them, send me an email to ask@steveDsims.com, and you can tell me what I need to do to make this the most dynamic podcast you listen to. Anyway, make sure whatever you learned from the last podcast, you actually do something with. Without action, it's just a bunch of people blowing air. Have a good time. Until next time. Bye.